Haunted apartment. A true story. My name is Donnie, and I am 26 years old. This real incident happened to me around December 2016 in Jakarta. At that time, I had just moved into a newly rented apartment, only a few days after taking over the lease from the previous tenant at a surprisingly low price. My apartment was on the 4th floor, room number 412, located at the farthest end of the hallway. It was comfortable, with decent facilities. The location was in Jakarta's Golden Triangle, the heart of the city, always bustling with life. I worked for a company in the coal commodities sector as an ordinary staff member. As a newcomer living far from family, I tried to enjoy my independent life in the capital, even though loneliness often crept in. To help with household chores, I hired an assistant named Bu Shri, a middle-aged woman who lived in a densely populated area near the apartment. Bu Shri worked only from morning until late afternoon. I gave her a spare key so she could enter even when I wasn't home. I trusted her, and so far, she had always done her job well. The incident. That day, I overslept and was almost late for work. Fortunately, the sound of Bu Shri knocking on the door woke me up. I quickly got ready and left without having my usual breakfast. At the office, I was swamped with work. Time passed quickly, and before I realized it, night had fallen. A little past 6, I left the office and drove home. Even though my apartment was only a 15-minute drive away, the rush hour traffic turned it into a 40-minute journey. Upon arriving, I parked my car in the basement and took the elevator up. That night, the atmosphere felt eerily silent. I didn't see anyone in the hallway leading to my unit. As I unlocked the door, a faint scent of jasmine filled the air. Everything looked normal, clean and tidy, as expected. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and drank it in one gulp. But then, something felt off. From the spare bedroom, I saw Bu Shri still there. She was ironing clothes, slightly hunched over, focused on her task. I frowned. Wasn't Bu Shri supposed to leave before sunset? I walked closer and greeted her. As I approached, the scent of jasmine grew stronger. I thought maybe she was wearing a perfume with that scent. I wanted to ask her, but I hesitated. I didn't want to pry into her personal business. Still, a strange chill ran down my spine. You can finish it tomorrow morning, Bu. You should go home now, I told her. She remained facing away, not even turning to look at me. No, Moss, I'd rather finish it now. I don't feel like going home early, she replied flatly. I assumed she might be having some issues with her children at home, so I didn't think much of it. Alright, I'll make you some tea then, I offered. I turned towards the kitchen to prepare a cup of sweet tea for her. But as I opened the cupboard to grab a mug, my phone suddenly vibrated. A WhatsApp message popped up. I picked up my phone and read it. Moss Donnie, sorry, I left early today. I couldn't stay long. Hope you don't mind. I froze. Bu Shri had already left since noon. Then, who was ironing in the spare room? My heart pounded. A cold shiver ran through my body. I immediately stepped out onto the balcony and called Bu Shri. She answered right away. Bu, what's going on? I asked, my voice shaking. Moss, I'm sorry, I left early today. I'll explain tomorrow. Something's not right in your apartment, she said, sounding as frightened as I was. I swallowed hard. My hands felt clammy. So that person ironing, isn't you? I whispered in panic. I hung up and forced myself to check the room. Slowly, I walked forward, my breathing quickened. From the doorway, I could still see the figure, looking exactly like Bu Shri from behind. She kept ironing, her body slightly bent over. The unease in my chest grew stronger. I gathered my courage and spoke in a firm voice. Excuse me, who are you? Bu Shri already went home. How did you get in here? I can call security, you know. Suddenly, the figure stopped moving. Then, she let out a soft, eerie giggle. That's when I noticed something horrifying. Her feet weren't touching the floor. She was floating. I took a step back. Oh, you still haven't figured it out. The voice was distorted, as if coming from a throat full of sand. My heart nearly stopped. The figure stood up straight, shoulders rising and falling slowly. Then, she turned around. Her face was empty. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just smooth, featureless skin. I let out a scream. Terrified, I bolted towards the door and rushed out of the apartment. I ran straight to the elevator, frantically pressing the button over and over. When the doors finally opened, I jumped inside and hit the basement button. Inside the elevator, I trembled, whispering prayers repeatedly. My chest tightened, my breaths came in gasps. That thing was not human. I didn't dare go home that night. Instead, I drove to my parents' house in Bekasi for safety. The aftermath. The next day, I went to Bu Sri's house. When I told her what had happened, her face turned pale. Then, in a hushed voice, she said, "Mas, I saw the same thing yesterday afternoon." I stared at her, speechless. "But the one I saw looked like you," she added. A chill ran down my spine. That entity didn't just imitate others. It could become me. Shortly after, my family and I held a small prayer session in the apartment. Since then, the disturbances stopped. But even now, at night, I can still feel something watching me from the corners of my room. Have you ever experienced something similar? If you've ever encountered a paranormal event in a haunted place, share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another terrifying story. See you in the next video.